Ethereum breaks a 6-month-old trend line to the downside. Are we about to see an Ethereum landslide take place? Hi guys, welcome to the House of Crypto. In today's episode, we're going to look at Ethereum, where it's currently sat in the charts and what is looking quite ominous. We're going to look at whether there's any potential that we're going to be able to dig our way out of this problem, or are we going to sink to some pretty worrying targets. Hello guys, and welcome to the House of Crypto. I make videos about Ethereum as well as other cryptocurrencies. So if you're new to the channel, then make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on the way in to be kept up to date with all the latest happening in Ethereum as well as other cryptocurrencies. Without further ado then, let's jump into the Ethereum charts for today. So this is Ethereum on the 4-hour chart, and we took a look at this the other day, and I mentioned that we were looking like we would potentially break out of the bottom of this orange pattern. And we did take a dip to the downside. I did say that this white line would potentially provide us with some good support, and it did take a nice bounce back to the upside, dropping to around the low of around $2,118 before returning up yesterday to around $2,270. But as you can see, and what is something that is very worrying, is we have just broken down through this line. And if you're wondering why this line is such a significant pattern, that actually it started around the end of the year last year, and we haven't really ever come out of this pattern for the last sort of 6 months or so, apart from, obviously we broke to the top side and we did take a big dip down to the downside. We did wick down through before taking a steep climb back up, but that actually came at the end of this sort of huge dump. It was basically a huge sort of liquidation event, originally caused by the Elon Musk Bitcoin comments. And then we did sort of wick down, and then we were kind of bought back up quickly. But because we've kind of been hanging around in this area for some period of time, we don't have sort of a mass liquidation event at the moment that is causing this. Obviously, people are selling off, and it is causing the price to sort of slowly drop to the downside. And that's perhaps something that's slightly more worrying in my opinion. The main reason for that is if we do take a drop out of this pattern, we could see things potentially moving very fast. Now at the moment, we haven't had a huge amount of volume in terms of selling off, which is perhaps why we haven't shot and raced all the way back down. And we do appear to be kind of holding around the $2,100 level, although at the moment we are slightly below that. Now something as well that is quite concerning looking at the 4-hour. If we look back to around the 18th of June, looking down at the RSI, we saw that it was very oversold and it dropped down to around the sort of 25 level. Notice at that time that the price was dropping down to around sort of 21.30 level. And then what we've seen is the sort of RSI showing a bit of a recovery and coming back to touch the line here at around the sort of 31. But yet notice that the price is now $2,094. Okay, so we've seen this moving in a downward direction, and we've seen a slight climb in the RSI. Now that's a bearish divergence and often does mean that we are likely to see bigger bearish moves. Now at the moment we are staying fairly steady around this $2,090 level, but as we know in the past, things can move very quickly, especially now that we've broken out of this pattern. We don't have a huge amount of volume, but we are seeing a little bit of volume coming in terms of sale, which is why we've seen quite a fast move in the last hour or so. So that'll be a very interesting thing to see out. At the moment, we could potentially just be getting faked out. If we look back to these times before, at the time, back on the sort of 23rd of May, around $1,930, all the way down to sort of $1,700 levels, yeah? As I mentioned before, this was at the end of that liquidation event, and it did kind of dump before pumping back up. So what we need to be able to see is some buying pressure coming in to be able to push this level back up. If we are to perhaps take a further dip down, then we could potentially see more liquidations, etc. happening. Although because this huge dip happened, I think a big amount of liquidations occurred back then, and perhaps at this time we haven't seen much in the way of movement, indicating that there's not been a huge volume of trading compared to perhaps if we look back a few months ago. As you can see, the trading volume has been particularly low since the sort of end of May time when we've been stuck in this pattern. The trading volume has been very low. So this could potentially save us if we are to think about what might happen. If we look across at the Bitcoin chart, which obviously has taken a drop as well, probably why we're seeing another drop in Ethereum. is obviously we were in this orange pattern and we were looking for a breakout, and we came back up, and as we often do, we were looking for a sort of a rebound to show and flip this into support. But as you see, it dropped back through. It then turned this orange line back into resistance and is now breaking towards the downside again. However, if we look at Bitcoin back at its current price of around $34,000, we have seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 multiple times that it has found this and found it as support. So at the moment, we're looking at a 4-hour chart. If we are to see a bit of a push back up and to sort of leave it as a close at a higher level, especially on the Ethereum chart, if we're closing above that white line, then things will be looking a little more steady, and potentially we could see something more positive coming out of it. But as I've mentioned, at the moment, this 4-hour candle is outside of the channel. We do need to climb back towards the $2,150 level and have a close inside. If we look back for the last 6 months, we haven't really closed any candles outside of this pattern. Even when we took this dip down, all the 4-hour closes, this candle and the green one next to it, were both inside the channel. Okay, so this is going to be something huge to pay attention to. If we close outside of here, in my opinion, we are going to take a drop to at least the sort of $1,750 level, and potentially if it can't hold at $1,750, and we potentially might see significant liquidations, and we could potentially take a drop much lower than that. If we take the Fibonacci and we take back from this swing low and we move it all the way up to the top, then we've got some key areas that we can look at. So as I've mentioned, the 618 does sit at the moment around the sort of $1,730 level. Okay, so as we look, back on the sort of 17th of May, we took that drop and it touched perfectly on the 618. But if we kind of look below that, there's not a huge amount of support in this area because we moved up so quickly. The problem is, if we do take a break and we do break below that 618, then there's obviously a bit of area here that was kind of a sticking point, but we could potentially then see us coming down towards maybe the 786, which is sat at around the $1,000 level. Now, in my opinion, there's still going to be a lot of buying pressure that's going to come in below $2,000. $2,000 itself, I think, is a very key number, because obviously for a very long time, that was kind of the target price. That would potentially see $2,000 being a bit of a sticking point for Ethereum. But things are looking not particularly positive. Bullish perspective in terms of a bearish opportunity to make a trade right now. I'm going to be looking for that close outside. If we do wick back inside and we are faked out, that's why we want to wait for a close outside. Perhaps we could even wait for the next kind of confirmation candle, which would then want to see being another engulfing candle pushing further down. If we do close back inside, I will be looking for a green engulfing candle to basically show me that the trend is about to reverse and we're going to see another push back towards the upside. But with all patterns, they do need to eventually play out, and because this is such a big pattern, the potential downside drop is quite a severe one. And actually, if we do look at where the start of this pattern is, it does come in line with the 0.786. There's quite a big confluence there around the sort of just above the $1,000 level. Make sure you safeguard yourself against potentially a very big drop like that. If it does take a drop like that, then again, fantastic buy opportunity in my opinion. Obviously, as per, do your own research. There's obviously different things that can come out. I know it doesn't sound necessarily particularly positive, but we are potentially going to see a bit of a cool off. Look back to where it was this time last year, it was only around $185. So in terms of the price increase we've seen, it's been pretty insane. So it wouldn't surprise me if we do potentially come for a bit more of a cool off. Guys, just a really quick Ethereum update today. I wanted to bring you this because I think something very big is just about to happen, or has perhaps already happened, and we're about to see the slide on from that. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to be kept up to date with the most realistic Ethereum news and chart analysis anywhere on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow with another video. Bye bye.